Hey there, welcome back to my kitchen. In today's video, we're going to make some very quick and easy kid-friendly meals. All of these meals were kept fairly simple, and I think these will please even the pickiest eaters. I personally don't have any kids, but I did grow up with 5 younger siblings, and my husband, who I like to joke is still a kid at heart and doesn't like to eat his vegetables. So let's go ahead and get started, and I will show you how to make these 3 easy and simple recipes. First up today, we're going to make these BBQ Chicken Meatballs. To begin, you will need to go ahead and preheat your oven to 375 degrees. And now moving over to my cutting board, if your family is not a fan of onions, then you can skip this step, but I'm chopping up half of a yellow onion pretty fine and adding that into a bowl. Then you'll add in 1 pound of ground chicken, 1 egg, a 1/4 cup of panko breadcrumbs, 2 to 2.5 tablespoons of your favorite barbecue sauce. Then for the seasonings, I'm adding a 1/4 teaspoon of pepper, a 1/4 teaspoon of garlic powder, a 1/4 teaspoon of paprika, and a 1/4 teaspoon of salt. Now I'm just going to take my hand and get this all mixed together really well. You want to make sure you get the barbecue sauce and the seasonings all spread evenly throughout. Once everything is mixed, you can go ahead and start forming your meatballs. I'm going to cook mine in the oven in this little 8x8 baking dish. I did spray it down with a little bit of nonstick spray, and then I'm just going to set the meatballs right in here. If they're touching each other a little bit, that's no big deal. But since these are the main course of the meal, I'm going to go ahead and make them a nice decent size. I stuck these in my oven for about 15 minutes, but since they are chicken, you do want to make sure they hit at least 165 degrees. Once they're out of the oven, you can go ahead and add more of your barbecue sauce over top of each one. You just want to make sure you add enough to cover the meatball on all sides. Now last step, you're just going to stick these back into the oven under the broil setting for about 2 minutes. This will help the barbecue sauce to get a little bit sticky. And then this is what your plate should look like in the end. I went ahead and made some white mac and cheese to go along with this and just served it with a little fruit bowl. Here's what the inside of the meatball looked like. These meatballs were delicious, very easy to make, and of course if you don't like that onion, you can go ahead and skip that step so you won't see any of those onions in there. Next up, you can never go wrong with some pizza, so now we're going to make some Texas toast pizzas. To begin, you'll need to preheat your oven to 375 degrees. Then onto a parchment-lined baking sheet, I'm just going to add on 6 pieces of Texas toast style bread. If you'd rather use some garlic bread, you can do that, but the plain bread is much cheaper and you get way more bread. I'm going to spray these down with just a little bit of avocado spray and place those in my oven for 5 minutes. This is just going to toast up the bread a little bit to make it so the sauce doesn't make these super soggy. Once they come out, you can go ahead and add about 2 to 3 tablespoons of pizza sauce onto each one, making sure to spread it all over the top side of the bread. For some extra flavor, we're going to add a couple sprinkles of oregano, garlic powder, and red pepper flakes over the top of each one of these. If your family is not a fan of red pepper flakes, then you can leave those off, that's just fine. Now we're going to add our cheese, so I am using some freshly shredded whole milk mozzarella cheese. The whole milk mozzarella is a lot softer, I believe, and by shredding it yourself, it's going to melt a lot better as well. So I'm going to add a hefty amount of cheese onto each one, making sure to cover the tops completely. Now you could stop with the cheese here, or if you have some Parmesan, I would just sprinkle a little bit of Parmesan onto each one as well. And then finally, you can add any other toppings that you love. So I'm just going to add some turkey pepperoni. Turkey pepperoni is a lot less greasy than traditional pepperoni, so that's why I like to use the turkey. But if there's any other toppings you want to add on here, like jalapenos, banana peppers, mushrooms, onions, anything like that, feel free to do that now. Now these are going back in the oven for about 5 more minutes to melt the cheese, and then I'm going to turn the broil setting on for about a minute or two just to crisp up the edges of the pepperonis. Here's what my plate looked like in the end. These actually turned out to be so good. Turning on the broil there at the end really does make a big difference. Getting those pepperonis crispy adds extra flavor. Not sure how, but it really does. This is a very quick and easy meal to make, especially for those that are very picky. Now we're going to make this very simple, very quick rigatoni Alfredo. For this one, you will need 1 package of kielbasa or smoked sausage, whichever kind you prefer. For this smoked sausage, I'm just going to cut it down the center and then cut it again into little half moon pieces. If you want them to be larger, then just leave them in larger pieces. Then you're going to need a couple cloves of fresh garlic. I was using 4 here, but you can use a little bit more or you can use a little less. I'm just going to chop all those up into really small pieces. Moving over here to my skillet, I'm going to add in about a tablespoon of avocado oil. Once that's hot, I'm going to add all that smoked sausage in there and just let this brown up on each side for a couple of minutes. Once your sausage has some good color on it, you can go ahead and add in your garlic. This garlic will take about 2 to 3 minutes to get soft. Then you can add in 1 jar of your favorite Alfredo sauce, and I like to kind of spice this up a little bit. I'm also going to add kind of a decent amount of milk in here to extend my sauce a little bit more, because I don't like when my Alfredo feels dry. So once I add all the Alfredo in there, I'm going to fill it up halfway with some half and half, shake it really good, pour all of that in there, trying to get as much out of the jar as possible. And then I'm also going to grate about half a cup of fresh Parmesan cheese in here. Now you can stir this up and just give this a moment for everything to get nice and warm and let the cheese melt all the way through. Now you can go ahead and add in 12 ounces of any type of cooked pasta that you want. Like I said earlier, I'm making a rigatoni, so I did use 12 ounces of rigatoni noodles. Add a little bit of salt and pepper if needed, or any other seasonings that you like, and then this is ready to go. Here's what my plate looked like in the end. This is a very simple meal, and if you don't want to do all that extra stuff to the Alfredo, you don't have to. You can just use the jar and be done with it. However, I think adding a couple extra ingredients in here to extend the sauce a little bit more and just add a little bit more flavor is fun, and this turned out really good on this night. Thanks so much for watching today's video. I do hope that you enjoyed. Don't forget to leave me a flower down in the comments below if you did make it all the way to the end of today's video, and I will see you back here on Wednesday for a new one. Bye!